We now know how to execute instructions on our simple microprocessor. What we need to spend a little bit more time with now is how the program counter works and how it is updated. So down here we have a simple program with a few instructions. Each instruction occupies 4 bytes. For example, this first one is in hexadecimal 80C94000. So the program counter points to that first byte, and then the instruction register loads the entire 4-byte instruction as a 32-bit word. Next, the program counter will advance to the next byte or next instruction, and the process will continue. So under normal operation, we have program counter pointing to what's going to be executed. It's advanced by 4 to point to the next one, by 4 again, and so on and so forth to execute all of these instructions, or to retrieve all of these instructions. So to do that, the next program counter generation is going to take the current program counter, put it into an adder along with a fixed constant of 4, and what comes out is the next program counter. So every time there's a clock, the program counter updates and the next instruction is executed. However, sometimes we want the program counter to go someplace else. A common example might be a loop. We execute a sequence of instructions, test a condition. If that condition is met or is not met, depending on the logic, then program execution returns to the beginning of the loop or continues to pass out of the loop. To send the program counter to a new address, this can be done in several ways, but this is common. We have the program counter, we have the add 4, and it comes out and then is put into another adder, and this other adder can choose to either add 0, which will cause it to move forward, or add an additional branch offset. This branch offset will be supplied as part of the instruction, and so you might see that then as part of this line right here. The branch offset can also come from the data path. Finally, we may just replace the program counter with a new value altogether, in which case we might have a large mux that would essentially put a new address into the program counter, giving us the next program counter value. Where does the new address come from? It could come from a register or from sign extended. Actually, I doubt we would do sign extension, just extended immediate values. Now, the immediate value that we ran across previously with the I format was a 16-bit value. In the case of putting a new address in there from an immediate value, it's usually longer, a 26-bit value for the MIPS architecture that we're discussing. So 26 bits is not enough to address all of memory, so this can't always be used. If more memory is needed, then the address is built up in a register and we jump to the address stored in the register, which will enable us to get to the full 32 bits. Jumping to an address is usually done from a register, and it is usually done when jumping to another part of the code, for example, executing a subroutine or function in a library or in a different part of the code. Responding to an if-then statement, doing something if something else is true, otherwise not, is usually done with branches. Branches are nice because when you load the code into memory, the absolute address doesn't matter. It just matters how many instructions ahead you have to jump. And so if your code is loaded into a different part of memory, it has no impact on the branches. So the branches are very useful that way. The branch offset can be signed, so it can branch forward or backward. And the branch offset may also be shifted to the left by 2 bits. And that's because each word, or each instruction word, is 4 bytes. So we really want the address to be changed in 4 bytes at a time. And so taking an offset of, say, 1, shifting it to the left by 4, tells it to move forward 1 instruction. There are different types of branch or jump operations. By convention, jump operations occur always, and branch operations are conditional. And there are different opcodes for each of these. So a jump, for example, may have a offset here. Actually, it's not relative. It's a word offset, and in the MIPS R3000 architecture, that's 26 bits. However, since the program counter advances 4 every time, and every instruction takes 4 bits, we're going to shift that by 2 bits before we insert it into the program counter. So we have an effective 28-bit range for the jump. If that's not enough, or if we want to dynamically choose where we're going to go, we use a jump register format. In the jump register, we give it a register. Whatever is in that register is now loaded into the program counter, and the next instruction that's executed is the one at the address pointed to by the register. Branches operate a little bit differently. They're conditional. So we might have 2 registers, for example, and an offset. The offset is 16 bits in this architecture. And that offset can be positive or negative, and it's added to the current program counter after it was advanced. So an example of something like this, let's see, might be branch equal. So in this one we give it 2 register names and an offset, and the offset is actually calculated by the assembler. So all we really have to do is give it a label, and when the assembler then converts this to machine code, it figures out how far away that label is and puts the offset in there in the instruction. So this code will compare register 10 with register 9, and if those 2 values are equal, then it branches to that new level or label. If it's not, it just continues to the next instruction. And we can see this by looking over here to the left. The program counter by default advances to the next instruction. The branch then comes in And if the branch offset is selected, that is added to the program counter and then stored as the next value of the program counter. If the branch is not selected, 0 is added, so the net offset would be 4, pointing to the next instruction. There are actually a large variety of branch types. This is branch equal. There's branch not equal, branch if positive or negative, branch if carry is set or not set, branch if overflow is set or not set, branch if greater, branch if less, branch always, and so on and so forth. And so we're not going to go through all of those, but you understand the basic idea now, I hope, that we can control how a program works simply by computing a new program counter address and sending that program counter to do whatever to whichever instruction we want to execute next.